Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys our next Twitter discussion video. This time we're going to be going over a pretty fun question. We're going to be talking about what your guys' favorite megas to use in the Draft League format are. And we'll talk about why those Pokemon are so great, why they're potentially slept on, really good, all that good stuff. So today I'll be a little bit less like analytical as the other ones, and we're kind of like talking about concepts. Today we're just going to be talking about, fun Pokemon to use and why you should try them in your Nat Dex leagues. And it might be your calling sign to, if you're a Wi-Fi guy, play in the Nat Dex Showdown League. Try out some of these cool Pokemon that you're missing out in Gyarados, because it's definitely worth it. But yeah, if you guys do enjoy today's video, be sure to like and subscribe. Obviously, we are pushing towards 1,000 subs, and if you could help me along that big, huge goal, I would really, really appreciate it. And I can give you a little bit of a preview to our next one. I already posted our next Twitter comment, or our next Twitter discussion for the next video, and we're already getting some great replies, and I think this one will be really, really good for newer players or just players trying to improve their Draft League game. And it's going to be, what is the biggest mistake you see new Draft League players make consistently? And again, it's a bit of a broad topic. There's going to be some pretty lofty answers. We have some great players already kind of commenting on the thread. So if you want to get better, be sure to sub so you can see that video when it goes up next week or whenever it may be. But yeah, that being said, and follow me on Twitter if you want to talk about it too. OG_Albina, and I'll drop that in the description as well. Alrighty, so with that being said, let's officially start and officially read off that question. Make sure my audio is recording. Cool. It said, it is time. Next question. What's your favorite mega to use in draft and why? My personal favorite would be Mega Diancie. It has a great speed tier. It's incredibly strong on both sides with great utility as well. Reply with your favorites for a video. So that's what we're going to be doing today. There's some that are repeats, so if I skim over your answer and you gave me a nice and long answer, I'll obviously show it on screen, but I'm not going to talk about the same Pokemon 8 times because there is going to be common answers. Like Mega Diancie is going to be a very common answer because it's a great Pokemon. So I am going to kind of touch on all of them, and we'll at least go in depth on all of them at least once, but I'm not going to, talk about Mega Diancie 8 times. I'm not going to talk about Megalith 8 times because they're all, again, legit amazing, but kind of depends. So first up, I'm just going to go in order that they pop up on my screen. First up, we have Soul Blazing. 3 mons I like to choose my answer. I live in bliss when Mega Gyarados gets the +1/+1. I outplay someone using Mega Alakazam Trace, and Mega Medicham hits a juicer. Alright, 3 really cool mons here. We kind of talked about Mega Gyarados, and I think I think it was like the slept on mons in Draft League video. I believe, I forget, was it Munchlash profile picture? It's Scrosh? I don't know how to say his name, but he's kind of consistently commenting on all of these Twitter chats, so shout out to him. I know he really likes Mega Gyarados, and it really is a great mon. We kind of touched on it before, and we're going to be using the team builder a little bit today. Mega Gyarados, not only is it ridiculously strong, base 155 attack, it has a great pre-Mega ability and Intimidate to facilitate its own switch-ins and setups and things like that. It is weak to rocks pre-Mega, but you can play around that obviously, and once you Mega, you're not weak to rocks anymore. But I think what's so great about Mega Gyarados that a lot of people kind of sleep on it in that aspect is this bulk. It's, again, I always use this comparison. It is just slightly less bulky than Umbreon, I believe. It has 1 less defense point, same HP stat, and same SpDef. So, I mean, realistically, it has the same exact bulk as Umbreon, which is legitimately insane because Umbreon, very bulky, very passive. Mega Gyarados, very bulky, has base 155 attack. 81 as a speed tier isn't awful. It's not great, but Waterfall plus Crunch plus Earthquake, or even Power Whip this gen if you're playing a Rotom Wash. But even then, Earthquake is completely fine through Mold Breaker, so we're able to break through abilities, we're able to break through Sturdies, and Water Absorbs and things like that. It gets Taunt for nice taunt sets. I've seen Rest Talk just mono attacking move with either Crunch or Waterfall, depending on the matchup, do really, really well because they're two without abilities. They're 2 typings that don't actually have immunities. So you can kind of just spam that, potential stab option if it does have the matchup. It has cool mix options if you're playing Kartanas and Ferrothorns and Skarmories. You can go Flamethrower or something like that. It gets Ice Fang for grasses. So, and again, it just bullies and pushes through so many Pokemon because there's not a lot that's just going to nuke and Oko this thing in one. So, obviously, Mega Gyarados is really fun. I like it a lot. I think it's pretty darn slept on. So, good answer. Next up is Mega Alakazam. honestly a mon that's typically banned in Draft League today. In Gen 7, it was arguably a top 5 mon and 11 mon. And it is probably the best mon in 8 mon, like, you know, a tour setting. This thing's ridiculous, obviously, with that base 175 special attack, 150 speed, very good spadef as well, and very, very bad HP and defense. But again, it's a lot like those other really, really fast mons, where a lot of the time, like, for example, base 110, not the fastest thing in the world, but, you know, decently fast in its own right. It's 350. You gotta hit 351. You need 60 speed EVs to outspeed that with a neutral nature. If you're like, I don't know, timid, I actually think you go no speed. Let's see. Yeah, you just outspeed it by like 10. So like this thing is ridiculously fast, which allows you to spec into that bulk a lot more if you need to take those hits. And back in Gen 7, before this move was cut, it had access to barrier, allowing it to really, really push through those fat darks that thought they could come in and pursuit trap it. You barrier up, and then you push through them with dazzling gleams, focus blasts, hidden powers of your choice. So that was kind of Gen 7 Zam. It could really beat all of its checks and counters very well. Calm mindsets were decent, or just like raw 3 attacks, recover, or 4 attack sets. Sub 3 attacks is another great thing. You know, really, really amazing mon that really never has a bad matchup, in my opinion. We used it in PMU last season. We made it to finals with it. It was a lot of fun. Absolutely love the mon. And then in Gen 8, the reason it's typically banned is because it did lose barrier. It did gain access to Nasty Plot, and there is no more pursuit in the game. I don't know why I typed it in Megazam, but didn't get it before. So one of the main ways of getting rid of Zam was maybe a fast scarf, you know, pursuit trapper, just a strong pursuit trapper in general, and especially without barrier, you wouldn't even really need to be faster and not prioritize it if it wasn't barrier or something like that. You could just pursuit trap, but the game move is gone from the game, and that makes Megazam incredibly overbearing in today's standard format. So that's why it's not allowed in really any leagues, because it is just sort of too good. And yeah, it's an overall amazing Pokemon though. I love Megazam. Magic Guard is also a great ability pre-Mega, not making you take spikes, rocks, webs, all that stuff on that first initial switch in. Actually, no, Magic Guard doesn't block against webs. I think it's just spikes and rocks. It's just damage. So you do take webs, which is unfortunate. But regardless, you're not taking that chip from spikes, rocks. You could even say unmega if you're like, I don't want to take this poison chip or anything like that if you do get poison. So again, really, really, really good mon. Also, fast Encore is always amazing. Fast, does it get taunt? Yeah, fast taunt. It can T-Wave things. Again, just an amazing Pokemon. Love Megazam to death, and there's a reason it's broken and banned everywhere. And the last one he was talking about was Mega Medicham. One of my personal favorites to use. I think Mega Gallade is objectively better, but Mega Medicham is ridiculously strong. That base 100 attack with pure power and a base 100 speed, so a little bit weaker than like Mawile, who's base 105, but has base 100 speed. Very, very mediocre to bad bulk, but it can be serviceable and useful in some matchups. Just fighting Psychic isn't a terrible typing, and this thing just clicks. High jump kick. Maybe a Zen Headbutt. You have Fake Out for priority. You have Bullet Punch for priority. You have the elemental punches like Ice Punch and Thunder Punch and things like that. You can bulk up if you want. You can recover if you want. Does it get Taunt? It does not. What does it get? That I'm thinking like utility-wise, it's very good. You can bulk up, like I said. And again, just an absolutely amazing, amazing Pokemon. It can Baton Pass. That's what I was thinking. It can Baton Pass for momentum. Most of the time, you don't really want to. Double Edge is a great tool to push past bulky Psychics. Like, let's look for example, right? We have Mega Medicham. We have something like a, let's say, quintessential bulky normal Mew. Obviously, just max HP Mew in its own right. After rocks, oh, that's heavy duty boost. Jeez, as a guaranteed chance to just get 2-hit KO'd. If it's leftovers, it's a little bit less of a chance, but it's still in your favor. So if you're bringing Mew to check Mega Medicham, you kind of have to be bulky, because you can't be like, you know, timid max speed and tie it, because 1, you're not going to Oku it. 2, you could just lose that speed tie, so it's not a very reliable method. So we'll go like 252. Bold. And say that's the instance, right? And you know, they have to be Fat Mew in order to check me, so I'm going Adamant Medicham. Adamant. Then we'll check out this big ol' Double Edge Calc, which again, just 2-hit KOs, max Fizdef Mew after rocks, and leftovers is, you know, about a 50-50 roll. But almost guaranteed after rocks with this. Again, any chip prior, you're going to be in a good spot. So, and obviously you can scout damage that first time you click a button. If your high jump kick does 34 to, you know, 35 to 40, 41, you'll know, hey, that's max Fizdef Mew. And after rocks, you know, maybe one more switch on rocks, or if I could chip it, I catch it with that double edge, it's a 2-hit KO. So amazing Pokemon. I love Medi. I think it's so much fun to use. So I 100% fully agree, because it's just a mon that just has very little to zero defensive counterplay in a lot of instances. Next up, we have Lux. I won't say Megalith yet because a lot of people will talk about it, which, wow, that's a really good KD with Megalith, but also this Megalop kill count. And I know Lux, when I think of Lux, I think of Megalop personally, and I like Lop a lot. I like Lop a lot. I like Lop a lot. I like Lop a lot in Gen 8. Gen 7, it was also very, very good. I like it a lot in Gen 8. I know it's kind of a very contentious point to say, like, I think Lop is good or I think Lop is bad. The real reason people don't like Lop this generation is because it lost access to return, frustration, however you want to say it, which is pretty big because now it's reliable physical stab. It's going to be something like Facade, which is a very good move, and especially Lop would run Facade in a lot of instances because it typically does bait status to bait the burns and things like that. Or it can be like Mega Kick, which is stronger, but obviously very, very inaccurate, base 75 accuracy. So it's like click and focus blast, which is really, really unfortunate. I won't lie, really, really unfortunate. But I do think there are two things that make Lop still very good this gen, and it got access to close combat instead of high jump kick, giving it a more reliable physical stab, one that we don't have to worry about missing. Obviously, we don't have to worry about ghost types in general because we have Scrappy, and we'll talk about that in a second. But CC is obviously still a very, very good tool. But it also got access to U-turn, and that's so nice for Lop. Are you kidding me? It had Baton Pass for momentum before, but having that momentum that can force chip on your checks, specifically Fat Psychics, like Metacham, the Muse of the world, the Necrozmas of the world, the Reuniclus of the world, they're not going to get like raw 2-hit KO'd by U-turns, but they're going to take a ridiculous amount of damage. You U-turn out with your Lop, you go into your offensive Dark type, maybe you have like a Scizor or something like that that's going to first force out the Psychic. They're still at like 60%. Next time they come in, they might be 2-hit KO'd. You know, like it's an interesting trade-off because we lose our reliable normal stat, but we have great ways of facilitating the rest of our offense as well as our own Lop with U-turn. I think U-turn is so big on Lop personally. So I definitely like it a lot. It has great utility as well, outside of being ridiculously fast and pretty dang strong, 136 attack, 135 speed. It also has Encore, as you just saw. It has Healing Wish, which is so clutch. That's not even Healing Wish. Healing Wish is just it's so clutch. If you get to the end game, you're like, all right, Lop's putting in the work it needs to. It's pivot around, it's click buttons. It's pretty much a sack piece at this point. Maybe I can Healing Wish up something really, really threatening in the back. Again, really, really nice option to it. It can power up punch through teams. It has fake out and quick attack for, you know, great stab priority. It can T-wave if you really, really need it to, though you don't really need it to a lot. It got triple axle gem, which is another very, very nice buff. It can like fake out last resort through teams or power up punch last resort through teams. Again, really, really nice things. It can fast Endeavor. A great Pokemon overall. I really like Lop. I know some people really don't like Lop, and then other people like it. It's a bit of a kind of a 50-50 mon. I'm sure other people will talk about Megalith here in a little bit though, so I'll at least talk about Megalop when it comes to, what do you call it? Yeah, Scrosh? Okay, that's how you say it. Well, regardless, he did say Garen. We kind of talked about that, but we'll get that to that in a second. Next up, we have Endless Gadget saying Mega Diancie is Bay. This thing is just started. Hits it incredibly hard, both physically and especially. Keeps up momentum with Baton Pass. Has tons of setup options. And it's 110 speed tier on top of this. Adds, is just so much fun for it to play with. Plays a second, close second, CC Gobert. So we'll talk about both of them right now. Why not? So Mega Diancie was my example too. I absolutely love Mega Diancie. It was the first Mega I really, really like used well when I first played in like draft. So maybe that's why it has such a, you know, soft spot in my heart. But I love this thing. Obviously, we see this stat spread. 160 in both of its attack stats. With very, very, very viable options on both sides. We can Moonblast. We can Power Gem. It got Mystical Fire this gen, which is great. We can Earth Power, which is, again, really, really clutch. So great, great special coverage. But then on the physical side of this gen, it got access to Play Rough, which is really cool. It has Diamond Storm, which is a ridiculously spam move. A little bit inaccurate with that 95, but every rock move is, unfortunately, from the physical side. But it does have the chance to raise our defense by 2, which is really, really clutch. What else do we have physically? Realistically, a lot of the time, that's all you need. You're typically not going full physical Mega Diancie, at least like move wise. You'll have like a Mystical Fire and Earth Power. You might be physically invested, and I think that's a cool aspect of Mega Diancie, because a lot of times, especially I see in like, you know, maybe not as like, you know, high skill leagues, you'll see someone try and check a Mega Diancie with their Spadef Fat Wall, their Chansey Blissey, let's just say that. When the person pulls up, they have Moonblast still, because we're still ridiculously strong uninvested, but then we go max attack, you know, Diamond Storm, and we pushed it. Let's look at the calc. Why not? Diancie. Mega. Cool. So then we'll look at something like a Blissey. Sure. So we see Moonblast doesn't do very much. Regardless, it's not going to do very much. This is an uninvested Diamond Storm from here. If we make this max HP, this is a 2-hit KO, my friends. Most of the time, if it's boots, it's still a 90% chance to 2-hit KO. If it's leftovers, it's a guaranteed 2-hit KO after rocks. Again, very, very nice. And then we can go ahead and take this guy off, which is great. But again, great coverage for all of its checks, and Mystical Fire and Earth Power. Really, the only thing that can reliably pivot into Mega Diancie stats are going to be things like Fat Steels and things like Ferrothorn and Skarmory and things like that. Well, Skarmory's not a good example because it's neutral to rock. But you get what I mean. It's really, really hard to switch into this thing. But on top of its great offensive prowess, it does have that great utility. Like Endless was saying, Baton Pass is a great option. It can even set up with Calm Mind and Rock Polish if you really needed to. Encore, Endeavor, it can boom if you really need to. It has a very fast heal bell. It has screens if you, again, everyone on that. It's a very good offensive rock run since it forces a lot of switches. If you can fit that kind of coverage on it, which is again really, really nice. It can sub and it can magic bounce bait things, or it can be protect and things like that. Again, you're going up against a Ferrothorn. You lead. This is more like if an OU example. You'd see this a lot of the time. Mega Diancie would run protect because you lead Diancie against lead hazard setter, and typically Diancie, it's not the best magic bounce user because at least against hazards, because it does kind of lose to a lot of common hazard typing, steel and ground and things like that defensively. So what people would do is they would protect that turn 1 and kind of scout and see what the opponent want to do, because some people would get a little bit over aggressive, say we force out the Diancie, I'm getting on my rocks as they switch out, so you protect, you bounce that spike back, and you're like, all right, awesome, now I'm in a good spot, I'm gonna switch out now because you're not getting them up again. So I love Mega Dia, amazing Pokemon. We talking about Megalith next. I'm using this in SPT right now. By the way, I know I'm behind on that, but I fell so far behind, I feel like at this point it's worth for me to just do like a little mini movie of week 4 through 8, as well as playoffs. So it'll be coming back, but Megalith, it's a lot like Mega Medi in the sense that it just does not have switch-ins. This dual typing is so good offensively and psychic and fighting, and it does lose a little bit of that raw power for a lot more bulk and a great speed tier in 110. And again, a great move pool. Close combat plus Zen Headbutt really hits a ton. You can go Psycho Cut if you don't want to miss. It gets Elemental Punches and Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, Fire Punch. You can also run Triple Axle. It gets Knockoff, which is a super valuable tool for a Psychic fighting type. Something that Mega Medicham does not have. It also gets X-Scissor for Psychics. Something that Mega Medicham does not have, which is, again, really great. We can Swords Dance. We can Shadow Sneak for great priority. Again, something else that Mega Medicham does not have. So... and it can taunt. It can teleport. Word to J-Bear. Don't ever run teleport Megalith, please. It can Will-O-Wisp. It can Wish. So there's great utility options for this thing. And again, that great speed tier. So what it lacks in power versus Mega Medicham, it far exceeds and makes up for in versatility, as well as just like overall usefulness, I suppose. It also gets Encore. It can be Disable. I've seen weird Disable sets. I've even seen Destiny Bond come before. So again, an absolutely amazing Poke. Oh, and it gets Drain Punch as well. Both these guys get Drain Punch for more reliable, I guess, in Medicham sense, and a little bit of recovery on like a bulk up Medicham or bulk up Glade type set. And again, fat Spadef set at 115 is great. If you're investing in HP, you're actually taking some hits pretty darn well with Megalith. So amazing Pokemon, arguably one of the top 3 Megas in the format. So great mon. Score 7 Mega Gyarados. We'll read what he says. He says, makes use of its pre-Mega abilities, Mind Games due to its type change before getting Umbreon's bulk and a huge attack stat boost. They can boost even further than the Dragon Dance. Bulkier offensive DD sets are great, but supportive and mixed options are highly underrated as well. It can slap on Flamethrower on a DD set and destroy the likes of Kartana, Pharaoh, Skarm. Being able to equal Rotom's nice, Taunt, and Yellow color never bought from staff. Yeah, you kind of touched on a lot of things we said, so I agree. Great mon. Alright, next up we have Kurt, and I read this one before, and I don't want to do my boy like this. He said, I'm saying Mega Banette, not because he's my favorite out of all of them, but everyone calls him garbage, and he's low-key the truth. Go to Mon. Hi, YouTube. Everybody say hi to Kirby, but also tell him that Mega Banette is not very good. It's cool in concept, right? It's cool in concept. Very strong, and Prankster is a good ability, so I suppose it can, have a little bit of use there. It's just the offensive coverage isn't great. I don't know. It does have decent priority in, like, Shadow Sneak plus Sucker Punch. It can do decent damage with Shadow Claws and things like that. Defensive Dark teams, though, are just going to kind of sit on this thing, other than, like, Dazzling Gleam. You can go mix sets, or you can even go full special sets, which can, like, Calm Mind do work, I suppose. Prankster Destiny Bond is never a bad thing to have. Prankster T-Wave, Prankster Taunt is another awesome thing. Will-O-Wisp is another, you know, good prankster move to have. It's just, I don't know. I don't think it's an objectively terrible Pokemon, but when you look at Mega Pokemon and you look at your Mega slot, you're only getting 1 Mega per draft. There's often just a better option than Mega Banette. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. It can like Cotton Guard and do like cheesy setup mono Shadow Ball sets. I've seen like Cotton Guard, Calm Mind, Shadow Ball, and Rest do some work, I suppose. It can like Toxic, I suppose, as well. Priority Plane Split, which is annoying as well. So, and Knockoff's a good tool to have also. So, it's not the best. Gong Shot's another cool tool to have. I don't know. It's not the best. It's not awful. But I just couldn't ever justify drafting it, personally. And Liv said, can I use my comment to have you edit out Mega Banette? Any Mega Banette people, they're just teaching attention for being quirky. This is Kurt being quirky. I don't know, maybe he used Mega Banette like really early in his draft career and it did good and he's like, this mon is broken. Alright, next up we have Fran talking about Mega Scizor, saying Mega Scizor is bulky offense incarnate. My favorite Mega to use hand down because of incredible bulk that's on par with Skarmory. Has only one weakness that can be pretty easily covered with multiple mons. Has great priority and revenge and kill shit with Bullet Punch. And it's great pivoting, which is my favorite / main reason for drafting it. I almost never use Swords Dance because U-turn pivoting is just crucial to me. Just being able to bring in another offensive threat is hands down the best thing about Mega Scizor, and it fits both my way of drafting and playing perfectly. I've drafted the thing 4 times, but up to 26 games across those 4 drafts. I love Mega Scizor and I hope I get to keep using it across my draft career. And they also Mega Audito shout out. I'm sure John will say that later. He might have said that. I couldn't agree more. I love me some Mega Scizor. If you guys have not checked out our Trick House Haunter, whatever season it was when we played Trick House Haunter movie, I think it's like recommended in like all my videos. We had a Mega Scizor team there and I absolutely loved it. It was my first time in a while using it, but it's a great Pokemon. And again, so naturally bulky, so naturally strong. Obviously, you're going to be a little bit more fat a lot of the time with, you know, like sets like Bullet Punch, U-turn, Roost are going to be on 90% of the sets, and then, you know, that flex slot and the last slot can be Swords Dance. If you're going for a more sweeping set, and you can even replace U-turn with like Bug Bite or something like that. You can be Knockoff, you can be Defog, you can be a bunch of different really cool options. And again, you're not required to run BP U-turn Roost. You can run BP Knockoff SD Roost or something like that. So it also gets superpower for great coverage. It can Toxic and be annoying. Amazing Pokemon. Ridiculously strong, even uninvested. Base 150 attack with Technician is so useful. On a Pokemon this bulky, having that reliable priority and Bullet Punch is so nice. I've even seen offensive Quick Attack SD variants do work just because of that Technician boost. And it really does facilitate the rest of your team really well. Like Fran said, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. He touched on it very well, I think, actually. This Pokemon is going to facilitate the rest of your team, the rest of your offense. And it's going to potentially come in and sweep some games as well. So, really amazing Pokemon, and it always does its job. And again, fire coverage is actually, you can typically live non-stab, you know, fire coverage, flamethrowers, fire punches, things like that pretty easily, and even some of them without boosting items, stab options, you can definitely EV to live. And there's no more hidden power fire, which at first people were like, Mega Scizor about to be broken, no more HP fire, but they kind of failed to realize that Mega Scizor was like not too KO by some HP fires anyways. Wasn't the most useful thing. It makes it to where you wall a lot of things that you did not like as easily wall before, but it didn't break it like a lot of people were thinking it was going to. But definitely do agree. Next up we have Zangu saying, I love Zard Y. The average draft doesn't have a safe switch and it gets super effective coverage for every fire resist, as well as every viable thick Fatmon. You don't even need to draft any extra Sun Synergy with it. It's obviously not the best button clicking Mega, but it's super fun. I agree. I love me some Yard, baby. Where is Charizard? Why? Really fun Pokemon if you can facilitate and support it well. Because I think if you can get free switch-ins to Yard and you can keep rocks away and you can position it well, it is almost an instant KO button. With that Drought Boost plus Flamethrowers, Fire Blast, Overheat. Overheat Zard Y is a fucking nuke. Don't care what anybody says. You get Air Slash for coverage. You get Hurricane too, but you're not running it because you're in the sun, unfortunately. You can Roost to keep healthy. You can Focus Blast. You can Earthquake. And another really slept on aspect of Zard is you can Scorching Sands too for special ground coverage, which is great. But yeah, I think a big actually slept on aspect of Zard Y is its mixed or physical capabilities, because while you aren't that strong offensively from the attack side, still got base 104 and Flare Blitzes in the sun. Ooh, Flare Blitzes in the sun are going to hurt. Again, you're playing that fat spit off wall that's there meant to check, you know, especially offensive Zard Y, and you throw up a DD, and then you throw off a Flare Blitz, even a Dual Wing Beat. You can have Thunder Punch for coverage, big Earthquake, or something like that. Like you're playing like a Neolego, which switches into all the special coverage of Zard very easy. Even potentially Scorching Sand sometimes. You hit that thing with an Earthquake, it's killing 7 of them, which is, again, really, really clutch in my opinion. So, great Pokemon. It's just a little bit tough to support with that 4x rock weakness and not being able to run boots. But things like Yard Sand are, like, really, really common archetypes, solely because Excadrill and Yard cover each other so well. Excadrill spins for it really well and can push through some of the things that it doesn't necessarily appreciate. And Yard can do the same thing for Excadrill, really bullying all those fat grasses that are going to come in and be passive on the, what do you call the Excadrill? Even stray Rock Slides aren't always going to OHKO if you do kind of like EV correctly and keep rocks away. So again, absolutely amazing Pokemon. I love Yard. I think it's great. I've drafted it multiple times, so I definitely agree with Zangoose here. Okay. Next up, I want to give Mega Beedrill some love. If you remove Steals and Scarfers, Mega Beedrill just wins games. So I agree in the sense that I do like Mega Beedrill. I don't think that's how you're really supposed to ultimately use Mega Beedrill. It's kind of like this guy right here, not in the sense that it's going to be bulky and facilitate your offense. It's going to be offensive and facilitate your offense. Now, Steel types, they're omnipresent. They're going to be everywhere. But, obviously, adaptability U-turns with a spike up, with 2 spikes up, with rocks up, when their leftovers are knocked off, which this thing does get knocked off, which is another great tool, and you're U-turning around, you're chipping those things down, and I think having Beedrill plus things that bully those things, like I drafted, the one time I ever drafted Mega Beedrill, I had Garchomp Mega Beedrill, and I loved it, because Beedrill bullied those grasses, it could actually pivot in on some of them, and forced in those steals and things like that, where Garchomp would come in and be like, alright, Earthquake time, you know? So it facilitates those kinds of setups, or even like an overload strategy where you have things that appreciate steals being chipped and removed, to where your Beedrill can come in a little bit later. Maybe an offensive Psychic or Fairy or something like that could be really clutch. But again, it has good coverage outside of those adaptability moves in like U-turn and Poison Jab. You can also go with like Fell Stinger for really cheesy sets because you're so fast. Maybe you can outspeed and kill everything if there's no Scarfers. Or you can go X's or for more reliable physical Bug Stab. But you can also Drill Run and Brick Break, I suppose. You can knock off, like we said. I used to have Pursuit, which was really cool. You get Throat Chop, which is interesting. But you can even be like really aggressive. Set up a Swords Dance on a very predicted Telegraph switch, and you might be able to push through that threat even more. Again, it requires very aggressive gameplay, but if you do get that off, you're potentially in a really good spot. Or you can get up T-Spikes. I've bought T-Spikes Mega Beedrill before, because again, it does force very Telegraph switches, and if T-Spikes are really good against your opponent, they're in with their grass, they're obviously going to die, they're going to go into their Rocky Helmet Steel type. Maybe instead of knocking off that turn, knocking off that helmet, I might get up my T-Spikes. Now, again, it does require pretty good hazard control with it, maybe a good spinner, because Beedrill does appreciate spikes and rocks on the other side, but a good spinner in conjunction with Beedrill and a good offensive ground type or something like that, or maybe an overload strategy like we said, is always really clutch. So really great Pokemon. And I've seen it do work in like Baton Pass allowing these because it gets like Agility, Sword Stance, and Baton Pass, and even Iron Defense. The Iron B itself putting in some work. So I think it's good. I don't think you need to use it to win games. It can, definitely. I think it's more so that it facilitates offense very well, and it forms really potent momentum cores that can really put people on the back foot throughout the game. Next up, we have Aaron12 saying Mega Sceptile. Number 2 all-time kill leader for me, even though I've only drafted it 8 times in 5 years during Draft League. Ability to check electrics plus water types. Strong in its own right. Faster than most top tier mons without a scarf. Most of the time threatened by it. I also shout out Mega Pidgeot and Mega Doom, the 3 underrated goats of Mega Evo. So I know someone else says those Pokemon, so we'll touch on those in a little bit. But we'll at least touch on Mega Sceptile, because this is interesting. This is one I've actually always wanted to draft, because on paper it looks like a lot of fun. 145 is great. It can go mix very easily with 110. It can Dragon Dance. It can Swords Dance and Scale Shot if you really want it to. So like physical options are really great. And it has good special coverage as well. Outside of that good stab options and Grass Dragon, it has Focus Blast to hit those annoying steals, which is, you know, again, really solid. And a lot of the time, like, Leaf Storms are going to push through Fat Fairies pretty well, or at least force them into recovery turns that you can take advantage of, which is great. Is there anything else it can really do to set up? So it's a bit one trick. I won't lie, it's a bit one trick. And you do check electrics, I suppose, especially in this generation where there is no hidden power ice. I think waters, it's a little bit, if you have a water check, while you do 4 times resistant, you can switch on Scald. It's very easy. Very good Scald Absorber. One stray Ice Beam is going to send you to the next dimension, which obviously is not ideal, unfortunately. So, I don't know if I'd use it to check waters defensively very often. Offensively, sure, or if you can get aggressive and get in on the Scald, and you just really don't feel like a Ice Beam's coming out, that's fair. But Mega Sceptile does look like a lot of fun, so I'll give him that. It is a mono I've wanted to try a lot. Next up, we have John Jr. Sorry, I heard some outside and I was like, am I about to die in the middle of recording? Next up, we have John Jr. saying Mega Mawile. I used to think it was insanely overrated because I used it when I first started draft. It's definitely a hard mon for newer players to grasp. I think Mega Mawile is amazing. I'm using it in Classic. If you guys saw our first 4 weeks of Classic, I love this Pokemon. I recently just drafted in Trick House again, and again, it is Button Incarnate. Even stronger than Mega Medicham. Maybe not a spammable stab like combination, but Steel Fairy is still very solid. And base 105 opposed to 100 with that huge power doubling its stat, which is again ridiculous. Basic. Why is it a 0? That's really weird. Basically doubling the stat right here. So at level 100, unless I'm wrong in how this works, because I don't think it doubles the base stat. I think it doubles the number itself. So if we're at level 100, we're 252 adamant. That should mean 339 times 2. That should mean you have 678 attack, something like that. But again, this Pokemon just doesn't have switch-ins. Used to be banned in a lot of Showdown leagues in Gen 7, Wi-Fi leagues in Gen 7. I don't think it's bannable just because it is exploitable and having pretty mediocre bulk. Not terrible, but pretty mediocre bulk and a really bad speed tier. Has a good defensive typing though in Steel and Fairy, so it can pivot into moves. It can take one of a lot of things. But you have Play Rough and Iron Head for your stab options. You get Swords Dance for setup. You get Sucker Punch for priority, and then you get like Ice Punch. You get Fire Fang. You get Thunder Punch, which is also awesome. I wish I got Fire Punch to be a little bit nicer, but not the biggest deal in the world. You can crunch through things if you really need to. You have Brick Break and Focus Punch and things like that as well for bulky steel types. You get Taunt if you really need it. Super Fang is the funniest move of all time on Mawile, because literally why not just click an attacking move that's going to do half anyways. But regardless, really, really nice mon. It has rocks too, so if you really need it to be a rocker in a game, you're like 3 attacks rocks, so it's fine. You can Psychic Fangs, so you can break through things like Toxapex and things like that. And again, even the most Fizz-Def of Fizz-Def things like Tangrowth, are going to be exploited with something like Mega Mawile, because while it might not just like OHKO it outright, they're passive enough that Mawile can set up a Swords Dance and really punch through them really well, and it can very viably set it up even on an Earthquaking Tangrowth. It's not going to die, because it's a Tangrowth and this is a Mega Mawile. It has Intimidate pre-Mega, it also has Hypercutter pre-Mega, which are 2 very, very good pre-Mega abilities, depending on what the matchup is. So Mega Mawile is obviously like a top 3, top 5 Mega in the format, and it's really, really fun to use. Big one, like I said, I probably have to say Mega Diancie for obvious reasons, but for this, but to be quirky and for the sake of variety, I'll say Mega Haircross. There's no business hitting as hard with as good of coverage as it does, and it has enough speed to be able to punish slower teams and serviceable bulk. Look at these good takes. I'm so proud of you guys for having good takes this time. The only one was Kurt with saying Mega Banette was good. That was the only bad take. I'm glad nobody said Mega Absol too. Spoilers. But yeah, dude, this is another one. Just like, what was the other one I really wanted to try that we were talking about? I forget already. But regardless, I really want to try Mega Haircross. I've been trying to make it fit on a team for so long. 185 base attack. I don't know why it keeps autoing the 0 attack IVs. 135 base attack, just at a neutral stat, without any multipliers or anything like that. With an Adamant Nature, you hit 515. That's ridiculous. This mon is ridiculously strong. Haircross already has such a good offensive typing and bug in fighting. So hard to switch into, and you get, you know, again, cool options like Knockoff. You can Swords Dance and overkill the shit out of it, which is crazy. You can Rock Blast. You get Pin Missile for that, you know, bug coverage is going to guaranteed hit 5 times because of skill length. Same thing with Rock Blast, which is great. Close combat is just better than Arm Thrust in most instances, so you're typically not going to run that, obviously. You can Bullet Seed, again, for the same effect of having that guaranteed 5 hit for fat, annoying, bulky waters. This Pokemon really, really does do well in really punishing bulky, fat builds. And another cool thing, we have it on the screen, actually, so we might as well, is how bulky it is. And our good pal did mention it, but this Pokemon, it really is pretty darn bulky in the grand scheme of things. I believe you can pretty easily EV. Yeah, I don't know why this is my go-to, what do you call it, example of this, but typically Mega Hair isn't gonna need, actually let's go Adamant. You're probably gonna want to go Adamant just for EV efficiency. It's typically not going to need max attack, just because of the fact that, you know, you're a Mega Haircross. So I've seen a lot of the time you'll use Mega Haircross in like a lead scenario because it can almost 1v1 almost everything. And again, this is probably not the most optimal EVing, right? This is probably not the most optimal EVing, but with just 248, 132, you can guarantee live a max special attack Mega Diancie Moonblast. That is stab off of 160 base special attack. And you can just absolutely munch that up. So it's really hard to OHKO it in 1-2, which I think is, again, really, really nice. And I don't know why, that's just an example that stuck out to me because I've seen it happen so many times in like tour games. So it's definitely a Pokemon I really, really want to try. I think Mega Haircross is awesome. All right. How much more do we have? Goodness, y'all got so many cool Megas, right? Oh my goodness. Y'all. All right. I think we're going to have some repeats though, so I think it's fine. Next up, we have Team Not saying Mega Blastoise, fantastic bulk, hazard control, set up with workup if Shell Smash Japan, which it definitely will be unless you're playing Ubers, and it hits like a fucking truck. Stupid strong when paired with a grass / electric terrain. Pivoting, it's also just stupid good when given the right support. I agree. It's a great mid-tier Mega Blastoise. Very, very reliable. I believe someone else said it in this tier too, but with Mega Launcher and like Water Pulse and Dark Pulse and Ice Beam for good coverage, or Sphere, even Dragon Pulse. Yeah, actually, you can probably never run a Dragon Pulse to be completely honest. But I do like workup sets. The Rapid Spin buff is actually really nice for something like Mega Blastoise because a lot of the time, again, that speed tier is pretty darn mid in 78. Having a way to boost its speed as well as get rid of hazards very reliably is always, again, really, really nice. This thing's ridiculously bulky. I've seen very, very Fizz Def variants and like Rest Talk variants be just absolutely nuisances to kill with just like Water Pulse plus Ice Beam being really hard to take down. Again, Dark Pulse is great coverage. Just an overall amazing Pokemon. I like Mega Blastoise a lot. Shell Smash is going to be banned on it typically just because this thing is absolutely broken at +2/+2/+2. There's no defensive counterplay to it, so if your league's allowing it, you need to tell them to stop that. But again, very, very nice stat spread here, and again, just has great overall utility, whether it be offensively or defensively. Next up, we have Ant. I'm only 36 minutes in, but I am going to start speeding up. We're going to try and keep this one under an hour. I don't know why anybody hasn't said Mega Alt yet, but 2 great typings, and while return is always gone, usually on Facade anyways. Great coverage with EQ/Flamethrower for steals, and can be used on physical, or special or physical, offensive sweeper or wall, and you can even set up Cotton Guard. Top 3 mid-tier Mega, in my opinion. I do like Mega Alt. I know, and again, it's a pretty contentious point. The Mega Alt is good, or whether or not it's bad. But I like it a lot. Again, a lot like Blastoise, with that very, very ridiculous bulk stat, but 110 both of its attacking stats, allowing it to be physical or special. Hyper Voice for special stab, Facade for physical stab, or Body Slam to bait some pairs, which is again really, really clutch. It can defog, it can Con Guard to set up like you said, it can agility if it's a special set, it can heal Bell, which is great. It has good special coverage, but all the time you're pretty much only going to need Hyper Voice plus like a Flamethrower or a Fire Blast. Earthquake plus Facade is almost perfect coverage as well on the physical side, which is again really, really clutch. It can Haze, it can Perish Song, which is really, really clutch. I believe it gets Fire Spin too, right? Doesn't that something I all got this time? Yeah, it can Fire Spin too, so you can even be like some cheesy setup sets, or you can even just like Double Edge, BTD Double Edge, and try and do as much damage as humanly possible. So this Pokemon is one of the ones I think lost the least from return leaving, well, like out of the 8 months, the ones with like Pixelate, Aerialate, things like that. So I really like Mega Lot. I think it's a great mon, personally. Alright. Next up, we have Jason saying, favors definitely Dia, but you still love Mega Venu. Super bulky and just a menace to deal with. I like Mega Venu too. Again, we're just going all that annoying bulky. And I love how we're having such a variance of Megas. It's not everybody saying like Mega Glade, Mega Dia, Mega Scissor. Those are just the ones on my screen, so I said them. Not that like, you're not allowed to like them. But I do think that it's really cool that we're getting like such a variance of Megas. We're almost covering like all of them in this videos. But it's definitely really cool. Again, really bulky, also decently strong. I've seen like offensive Leaf Storm Venus rip through teams. I've seen Venu drafted on Sun teams and like stay unmega'd, or just be like growth and be annoying. I've seen SD and Curse Venus do work. But again, it's bread and butter. It's having that Grass Poison typing along with Thick Fat taking away 2 of its weaknesses, which is so ridiculously nice. It gets knockoff to kind of just disrupt opposing teams. It can Leech and Sleep Powder do the same thing, as well as Toxic, Sludge Bomb and Bait Poisons, which is great. It's going to Giga Drain and Synthesis and Leech Seed to keep healthy. It actually gets dual screens, which I have seen like one other time. Wouldn't say it's the most reliable thing in the world, but another thing I got this gen, which I think is really cool, is Earth Power. Typically, you'd have to run like Earthquake and be like mixed or minus def, or minus speed. Usually, you wouldn't want to like cut into your bulk if you're a Mega Vino usually, but you'd have to be like minus speed on your Vino to hit those deals, or you'd be like a weak hidden power fire, or hidden power ice, or not ice. You'd be like a weak hidden power fire, or maybe even a hidden power ground, depending on what the mon you're trying to hit is. Now with Earth Power, having like a reliable special ground stab is so ridiculously good for Venu, so I think that's really cool as well. And I got like Weather Ball on like again, if you're like drafted with Sun or something like that. So really, really fun mon. I like Venu a lot. Not gonna regurgitate what's already been said about Mega Diancie. That's my favorite one, but I want to see is want to try out is Mega Camera. You're claiming 3 every time that mon's in Trick Room. Another Pokemon. If you guys are big OGalbina stands, you'll know I love me some Mega Camel. I drafted an APA Evo. I think it was like season 3. There's a movie on this channel that it's from like almost 2 years ago at this point. But this Pokemon was awesome. I drafted it with a little bit of Trick Room support, not a lot, because I don't think like going full Trick Room and draft is ever a good idea. But I drafted it with Trick Room support, and I drafted it with Terrain, with Bulu. And this Pokemon's so much fun, man. There is not much to switch into the sheer force-based 145 special attack, with pretty much all of its great moves being boosted by that, whether it be Flamethrower, Earth Power, Fire Blast. I believe Rock Slide as well was a great coverage option. It also got access to like Heat Crash, or I think it got Flare Blitz, right? No, it didn't get Flare Blitz. Did it get Heat Crash? Is it Heat Crash? Did it not get Heat Crash? It didn't. That's crazy. Okay, I thought I had better physical coverage. Let's look at category physical. I thought I had better physical fire coverage. That's tough. It might have been we were playing with leaks and we thought Camera got those moves and it did not. Because I feel like I vividly remember running like Flare Blitz Camera. But obviously that fire ground coverage is such a nice stab. Again, you're very slow. But that bulk is ridiculously nice. 70, 100, 105 is very solid. I've run very fat rest talk Camera-ups, and it's very anti-meta. It checks a lot of top tier threads, especially those top tier electrics. Things like Zera's, it walls for days. Things like Coco, it walls for days. Which is, again, really clutch in my opinion. And you can Eruption under Trick Room. I have a battle that, again, was in that APA Evo season. It was even in one of Pokemon's video when you're doing, like, submitted a battle with that, because I thought it was a lot of fun, because I brought a Trick Room plus Eruption Mega Camel in a battle against Tort in Evo that season, and it claimed, like, 4. It was really fun. So it's an overall great Pokemon. You also have Ancient Power, I guess, which is also sheer force boosted, which is cool, but great rocker, can be Rest Talk, it can be Will-O-Wisp, it can Yawn, you know, a bunch of really fun things like that. So I love Mega Cam. Oh, and it gets Nature Power, which is another reason I drafted it on electric terrain, or grassy terrain, because I could Nature Power and get Energy Balls and just nuke things like Rotom Washes, which would be typically checks, and Fat Grasses, which would be checks. So that's gonna be pretty cool. Next up we have Star Sand Garing 2, Shrimp Man, Go Burn, very bulky and beats many other bulky waters. This is some great anti-meta fella. I think he's talking about maybe Gyarados, which has been mentioned 3 times, which is cool. Because it's a mod I actually typically don't see drafted. So it's good to see there's some people that like it. Aquarius says Megazard X for sure. So versatile and impossible to swap into. Oftentimes I'll just lead and claim 2. I do love me some Megazard X. I have won a championship with Megazard X. It's amazing. I typed in Megazard. So both of the Mega Charizards are amazing. Zardex being able to be special as well with a 130 in both, but the reason it's better physical obviously is because Tough Claws, and Tough Claws boosted Flare Blitz, and Dragon Claws, or even Outrageous, are ridiculous to deal with. You have Earthquake for great coverage as well. You can Dragon Dance, you can Swords Dance, you can Flame Charge up, you can be, what do you call it, Belly Drum even. I've seen Belly Drum Zards go crazy, which I think is great, and I think everybody knows that about Zard, which is great, and Aquarius touched on that. She was like, hey, you can lead it, click a button, kill Pokemon. It's so hard to beat defensively. What I think is really slept on is how bulky Zard is. 78, 111, 85. Bulky Zard is the truth fat Will-O-Wisping variant. I've seen mono set up like Dragon Dance, you know, like Will-O-Wisp and like Fire Punch, things like that, or, you know, Dragon Claw if there's no fairy, I don't know. With like Roost and things like that to keep healthy. This Pokemon is very hard to take down depending on how you EV it, and you can very viably get super bulky in this thing. I've seen sub-toxic Zards go crazy. You're playing like a Slowbro or something like that. I've seen sub-toxic like flamethrower sets do like crazy work. So I think Zard is really good, not only because it's so hard to check defensively and it forces such specific prep that a lot of the time those more defensive fat annoying Zard variants are going to be really difficult to deal with if a team's like hyper focused on like DD and SD smash through me. I think SD Zard is something that's not used by a lot of newer players. They kind of see DD win con. Dude, click Swords Dance and click Flare Blitz and kill something. Click Swords Dance and Dragon Claw and just kill something, you know? Because Flare Blitz Dragon Claw is already almost perfect coverage. So just like SD 3 attacks or SD Roost 2 attacks in your stabs is going to rip through 90% of teams, to be honest. You're going to claim a couple. So I definitely agree. It looks like we're getting replies for the other tweet. Next up, we have Kurt saying, or not Kurt, Kurt's replying because he's mad that she didn't like Yon Mega, but Liv saying Yon Mega, word to Greg, phenomenal, best Mega Pokemon in the format. Mega Diancie for sure from Incog. If you invest properly, it can be Rock Paw Sweepers, also taking hits. We already talked about Mega Diancie plenty. But we have a close second for sure is Abomasnow. Great low tier Mega and a fun little guy. I think we talked about this in another video. Mega Abomasnow I think is really cool. Mega Abomasnow. Really bulky, really strong on both sides. 132 on both sides. Again, very slow, and it is going to be very cheap because it's not like absolutely broken, but it gets Veil this for you know, a little bit of facilitation of the rest of your team, which is great. But it also got access to Earth Power this gen on top of Focus Blast, which can hit steals. It also had Earthquake and Brick Break to break through those prior. But having those blizzards, you can leaf storm through some things. You can be mixed and have Ice Shard, or you can be Wood Hammer. You can be Swords Dance. You can be a bunch of fun, really different options, and really break through a lot of teams. Again, it's very slow, but it's decently bulky, and if you can support it well, I don't think it's that bad at all. I had it in a low tier league one time, and I really liked it there. So I haven't used it in standard, but I definitely think it does have its value here in just standard draft. Next up is Jesse saying, everyone's taking the high tier Megas, but I'll shout out Mega Shark and Mega Doom. Kind of hard to fit and / justify, but if you try them, they're a great time. Again, I think I saw Kelly say Mega Doom. So we're going to wait on that one. We're not going to talk about that one because I want to try and, like, you know, give everybody their time to try. I don't know. Probably doesn't matter. But Mega Shark is another one. Again, I really want to try this one, specifically in a league that doesn't allow first turn, or doesn't require first turn Mega, which is 99% of leagues that Kurt and John Jr. don't run. But I think this thing with having Speed Boost pre-Mega, you protect up, you got Strong Jaw, and you can crunch, Liquidation, Psychic Fangs, Ice Fangs through things. You can Earthquake, you can Poison Jab for fairies. You can do a bunch of fun options. It gets Flip Turn now, so it's also not completely useless post-Mega. You can Close Combat through teams. It can Aqua Jet through teams. So even outside of those, like, you know, turns where you're like trying to come in and win the game because you got your speed boost plus this Sharpedo, it has great utility outside of that. It's really strong, and it has a lot of great uses. 140 base attack is great. 105 is still solid speed tier, so I think it's a fun low tier Mega for sure. Gohan said Blastoise is very reliable at what it does, so I like it. Also at a very nice price. Also very nice, yeah. I mean, we talked about Blastoise a little bit earlier, but he kind of touched on, you know, the price of it, which is another, you know, big advantageous thing to Blastoise that I don't know if we mentioned. Okay. Next up, I think Red here says another 2 Pokemon that we already did. And Scizor and Mega Hera. So yeah, we talked about those. SD great coverage and use skill during makes such a potent breaker. Also Spikes retail. I did forget to mention Spikes. Now Mega Hera is gonna click Spikes even less than regular Hera, I think, but it's still a cool option. I do like the Spike option. Next up we have K Savage saying Mega Diancie is my favorite high tier for sure. Just be switching so well and set up is so damn good. Second shout out is my most used Mega in draft, Mega Licks. Thing is so strong, yeah, it has its issues, but for its value, I always rate it. This is a cool one. Word to Amel with DD Mega Licks, but Mega Steelix is a really cool one. Another one that I really want to try, that I've never had a draft before. Fistef, out off the chain, obviously. Steel Ground is also a very good typing. You can really heavy slam Gyro Ball / Earthquake through teams really well. It has addition to a body press, which is almost like another stab with that base 230 defense. Again, really clutch. You can Iron Defense through teams and potentially win that way. You can even DD if your name's Amel, and only if your name's Amel, but it's a really reliable rocker. You can set up, it can throw away around Toxics on those fat grass that might want to come in. I've even seen, like, I've been watching a lot of UDL content lately, because I think they're awesome videos, and they're really good if you want to get better, which is something I want to get better. But I saw in one of the games a taunt Mega Steelix, which I thought was really, really cool for things like Ferrothorn. So really slow things. It gets Fire Fang as well, which is cool coverage. So again, very low tier Mega, but I think it definitely has uses. 125 is also very strong. And again, you can invest in that Spadef pretty much almost fully, just because of the fact that your defense is already so high, and a lot of times investing in it is going to be, actually pretty unoptimal. But next up is Dr. Slacking. Another one we already talked about, unfortunately. He said Mega Medicham. HJK is the most fun move in Pokemon. Adds a bit of excitement to the game. I will agree. You kind of almost want to like throw up when you click the high jump kick and you're waiting for it to go through, especially on Wi-Fi. I think it's a really scary move to click. In Poltergeist. Poltergeist has this other like 3-second pause where you're like, did it hit? Ah, shit. And then it'll be like, it's about to be attacked with his left, or like, alright, word. Next up, we have Richard saying, for the sake of variety in the video, I'm going to say Mega Ampharos. While it does struggle against fairies and Spadef walls, it can easily break teams or act as a bulky support mon. Funny agility sets can also sweep, and it's also usually tiered low, making it a great value mon. People also keep sleeping on physical Mega Ampharos. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You know what? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Richard is correct. But, oh geez, we're not going to get there before an hour. Sorry, y'all. Mega Ampharos is definitely a cool mon. I think he kind of touched on it pretty well. There's not much we can talk about. I think from a breaker roll, it is pretty strong, but I think physically defensive Ampharos is very annoying to deal with. Electric Dragon's a pretty solid defensive typing. You can even, be annoying for some ground types. You can throw off Toxics. You can Dragon Pulse them for great chip and things like that. Again, Stab 165 is not going to tickle. It can Volt and grab momentum in some matchups as well. And yeah, just overall very solid mon. You get Heal Bell as well, which is kind of cool. But you're also going to see like, stereotypical Fabio, Rest Talk, Volt Switch, Dragon Balls, Sleep Talk. But yeah. Next up, Full Mega Glademon. We already talked about that one, but again, phenomenal Pokemon. Versatile, physical breaker. Those words exactly. None. I've slowly changed my opinions on Megas, and the item slot is a bit too valuable to give up or the extra power without flexibility of an item. This is an interesting take. This isn't a... What do you call it? This isn't a response I expected to have here from the Anchorage Appletons. I do understand what he's saying. Sometimes people like force a low tier Mega on that doesn't really fit their team solely to have a Mega. If you have a team that doesn't need one, or you'd rather have another Pokemon they aren't required in your league, I agree. Don't draft one. However, to say like the item slot is more valuable is kind of a little bit too much of a blanket statement, and kind of like too black and white. I don't know. I feel like a lot of Megas offer much more than just like strong Pokemon that doesn't have item. You know what I mean? So it really depends on what you're replacing it with. And usually they're tiered accordingly because of that. Like if Mega Gallade could hold an item, if Mega Medicham could hold an item, they would be legitimately broken. So obviously they're not going to be tiered, to the same extent. So they're kind of tiered with those things kept in mind, in my mind. Mega Kangaskhan in Uber's draft leagues. I love that I love the thing with Fake Out plus S-Toss. The optional Room Wish Protect on that too is just a master accommodating a team. It can provide great defensive utility as well as the offense everybody loves it for. So Mega Kang is a really cool mod. I like it a lot. Now, I don't really have much experience from Uber's draft leagues where it has S-Toss, which is pretty darn broken for anything that is not a ghost type. So I don't have too much experience from that. I do have experience with it in regular draft, and I think offensive Mega Kangaskhan is a little bit of a trap, because newer players are like, I Fake Out, I Power Up Punch, I Sucker Punch, I Sweep with this one, and then they get Rocky Helmet down, they're like, dang, Mega Kangaskhan's not that good. I think where King thrives is in that immense bulk, like they were talking about right here, and throwing up wishes and throwing around Toxics and throwing off Body Slams and Facades and really chipping things down over time and facilitating the rest of your team. So I think that's where Kang really shines. Not so much offensively in a counter team format, just due to the item Rocky Helmet existing. But I think defensively it's great, and there are some matchups where it does do really, really well offensively. Fade says Gen 7 Mega Main. This isn't a Pokemon I love. It's definitely a lot better in Gen 7 just because it has the option of hidden power, and then plus like Volt Switch and Overheat, good coverage options. I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's incredibly mediocre, but Intimidate's a good ability, and it's a fast, strong electric type, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Mega Scizor, Mega Camel. I think we already talked about these guys. Yeah. I think that's definitely fair. Max Attack, Earthquake instead of Earth Power on like Assault Vest Mons. Give it a shot. I do agree, Sirkill kind of touched on a lot of the things. I kind of read it in my head and said out loud, which is not very good of me, but I should have read it out loud. But regardless, I do love Mega Camel. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. Definitely a mod I loved when I tried it. And so we have Iris saying Mega Aggron is so good. A lot like Megalith. Lower to mid tier. A little bit better than Megalith, honestly, and a little bit tiered higher. because it has that same defense stat, but has filter, which is such a great ability. I believe having, or at least reducing by a good amount, super effective moves, damage on them, which is gonna make this thing ridiculous. This thing pretty much resists Earthquake, which is great. And again, got body press for like a second stab that it never really had before. It can Earthquake and Heavy Slam. It can curse through things. It can Stealth Rock and Toxic. It can also taunt in Thunder Wave and things like that. Just because it's an early gym mon, they all get those moves for some reason. It can Ice Punch as the elemental punches. And it's just an overall really solid mon. I've even seen Rock Polish Mega Aggron do well. My first ever league that I uploaded to YouTube, NCP Season 1, we made it to semifinals and had a Mega Aggron on that team. And I absolutely loved it. Great Pokemon, especially with proper wish support and great ways of keeping it healthy. Really good mon. Megalith is just a Mega that seems to do well for me even when I have terrible seasons, which we talked about. Zardex, monster with dual DD and stabs. Audino is the most optimal Mega, but it's great coverage, doesn't die. Sceptile is frail, but the addition of DD to its move will make it harder to predict. Not to mention that it's super fast. Audino is a cool one. We'll kind of talk about it really quick because we talked about the other ones already. Audino is cool in a non-first turn Mega League, which again 99% of them are going to be at this point, because you can stay on Mega, keep that regen, and then when you need that extra bulk, which this thing is really bulky, incredibly bulky, 103, 126, 126 is nasty. You can kind of, do that. Fairy, normal, and fire is, a good coverage option. The only thing is it's pretty darn passive with that base 80. Not the biggest deal in the world, and it's a great utility Pokemon. So Mega Odd's actually a really good low tier Mega and non-first turn Mega Leagues. Next up, we have Aggron, which we already talked about from Anthony here. Again, great Pokemon. Fits almost any Fragmentary Steel Core and has a fast move pool to beat those counters. Yeah, good mon. Next up, this is the Mega Houndoom that I was talking about. There we go. Then we have like Skyrander. So let's see how many more we have. I want to count how many more we have before we get to killing Mega Houndoom. 1, 2, did that one. 3. There's that one we already did. 4. Yeah, we have 4 more. Okay, cool. So we'll get there. Maybe we'll get there before an hour. Let's try and get it fast. We're getting done before an hour. Next up, we have Mega Houndoom. Not on Sun teams, maybe on Mega Sun with Sun like Luxio Mega, but fast, dark and fire type with poison coverage for fairies. Bolster's design is a 10 out of 10. It does look very cool. I do love me some Houndoom. Really cool mon, and it's a dog Pokemon. 115 is a great speed tier in Draft League with 140 base special attack, so it's, again, going to be a lower tiered Mega, but Dark, Fire, and Poison is great coverage, like he said. It can Nasty Plot up on aggressive switch-ins. It can Destiny Bond, which is also, a cool option for it as well. And even Stab Priority and Sucker Punch with base 90 attack isn't the worst thing in the world in specific matchups. There's things like Nidoking where I've run, like, Earth Power plus Sucker Punch to knock out Dragapult, even though I've been, like, timid, just because it's good priority and good coverage to have overall. And it gets Taunt as well, which is, again, a good tool. So we do love ourselves some Mega Houndoom. Skyranger is going to say one of my personal favorite Megas as well, Mega Arrow. This thing is ridiculously strong, ridiculously fast, base 150 speed. Tough Claws as an ability is ridiculously nice. It got Dual Wing Beat this gen, which is so nice on Mega Arrow, having better physical flying stab. It can Earthquake and Stone Edge through things. It got Dragoness this gen as well to boost its speed and boost its attack. It had Hone Claws before, which is great. Good offensive rocker. It gets like Ice Fang and things like that. Really fast taunt, and it can be really bulky with that great speeds here. A lot like things like Mega Zam, like we were talking about earlier. Oh yeah. Oh, we got 2.5 minutes. We got this. Mega Medicham. We already talked about these guys. Diancie, Mega Bro. Mega Bro is also an amazing Pokemon. We'll type it in really quick while I talk about it. Mega Slowbro is also great in non-first turn Mega Leagues because you can stay ridiculously bulky, have that regen as that best ability in the game. Then when you need that extra bulk, you can go ahead and Mega Evolve. Shelmer is also a very solid ability. I've seen like Double Dance sets do really well. I went through a big Mega Bro phase earlier this year where I drafted it a ton. Then we have Mega Pinsir for turn is allowed. Agree. We can't talk about it in another video, but this Pokemon with good support, again, a lot like Zardwise, is going to be really scary for teams to deal with that flying stat plus like close combat and Earthquake. And then lastly, I think that's it. Did we miss one? Did we miss one? I don't think we missed one. Okay, that is going to be the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like, and if you're new here, be sure to drop a sub. Like I said, we have our next video, which is going to be, like we said, what big mistake do you see new Draft League players make consistently? Yeah, that'll be a good video. So if you want to learn a little bit, get a little bit better potentially, definitely stick around and check that video out. Follow me on Twitter, comment on these threads, because you can see yourself in a video in the future, which would be great. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time. Later.